Husband humiliates his wife in front of his friends, introducing her as a maid because he's ashamed of her, but then she does this. In a small country town, surrounded by green hills and cut by a lazy river, Melissa grew up in the shadow of a traditional family that valued her brother Jacob more than she did. His parents, Mark and Brenda, were tireless workers at the local factory and placed all their hopes and resources on their son's future. Melissa, from an early age, felt the weight of discrimination. While her brother received praise and support, she was relegated to household chores, learning from a young age that her aspirations should be secondary to Jacob's. "Jacob, my son, you need to study hard. We want you to be someone in life, who has a good job," Mark said with a glint of pride in his eye. "Melissa, help me clean the house. We need to get everything clean for when your father and brother arrive," Brenda instructed, as Melissa sighed, feeling the weight of a predetermined future. However, Melissa did not let herself be completely discouraged. At night, she would retreat into the world of books, reading under the sheet with a flashlight, dreaming of a day when she could live by her own rules. Her ally was Donna Mary, the librarian, who, recognizing the girl's brilliance, secretly encouraged her. "Melissa, you're a very smart girl. Don't let anything stop you from pursuing your dreams. Here, pick up this book. Go help her study for the high school exam," whispered Donna Mary, handing him books hidden under the library counter. Supported, Melissa began preparing for her high school certification exams, hiding her books and notebooks from her parents. On exam mornings, she left the house before dawn, walking along the road still covered with dew. "This is for me," Melissa thought determinedly. "I will not let them define me as just Jacob's sister or as a simple helper. I have dreams, and I will achieve them, no matter what it takes." Melissa completed her high school with excellent grades, a feat accomplished entirely in secret, a secret she treasured, proof of her ability and determination. By the time she turned 22, Melissa was saturated with the limitations imposed by her home life. Despite her secret success in exams, the pressure to conform to the traditional role her family wanted for her only increased. Feeling like a bird trapped in a cage, Melissa carefully planned her escape, seeking a freedom she had long longed for. On an autumn night, when the leaves were falling and the wind was bringing an air of change, Melissa packed up her few possessions, a few books, clothes, and most importantly, her high school certificate. With a heavy but determined heart, she wrote a brief letter to her parents. "Dear Dad and Mom," she wrote, "I love you, but I need to find my own way. I hope that one day they can understand and forgive my decision. Love, Melissa." Leaving the letter on the kitchen table, Melissa left the house in the darkness, heading for the nearest bus station. With tears in her eyes, but a firm resolution in her heart, she bought a ticket to the farthest city her money could afford. The first few months were challenging. Melissa rented a small room in a cheap boarding house in the city and got a job in a coffee shop. Independent living was difficult, the work was exhausting and money was always scarce. However, for the first time, Melissa felt like she was in control of her own life. At work, she was known for her diligence and friendliness. Frequent customers appreciated his welcoming smile and his always positive disposition, even on the busiest days. "You always have a smile, even on the coldest mornings, Melissa," commented one of the regulars, an elderly gentleman who liked his coffee very strong. "What's your secret?" "Just being here, being able to make my own choices, makes me smile," Melissa replied, true to her words. In addition to work, Melissa did not abandon her studies. She enrolled in a night course in administration, using every free moment to get even closer to her dreams. The city's library became her refuge, where she spent hours among books, absorbing knowledge and planning her future. One evening while studying at the library, Melissa came across a pamphlet about a scholarship for women in adverse situations. His eyes lit up with the possibility. With the help of the city librarian, who became her new mentor, Melissa prepared her application, detailing her journey and aspirations. 2 years after her escape, Melissa was already more established in her new life. She worked during the day in the cafeteria and studied at night, always focused on her goals. During this period, loneliness sometimes weighed down, but she stood firm, valuing the independence she had fought so hard to achieve. It was on one of these nights, after a long day of studying in the library, that Melissa met Jerry. He appeared during a storm, a young lawyer who entered the coffee shop to take shelter from the torrential rain. Jerry, with his soggy suit and a charming smile, ordered a coffee and sat down at the counter, right in front of Melissa. "What a storm, huh? I think I ended up in the right place." Coffee and a welcoming smile, what more could anyone want on a night like this? Jerry said, trying to break the ice. Melissa, accustomed to talking to strangers during her work, responded with a characteristic kindness. "Yes, the storms here can be very intense. But the coffee is fresh and the company is always welcome," she said, pouring him a steaming cup. The conversation flowed naturally between them. Jerry spoke about his work as a lawyer and his aspirations to make a difference in the world. Melissa, for her part, shared a bit of her own journey, cautious about the details but open about her aspirations and dreams. Jerry seemed genuinely interested, and his admiration for Melissa grew rapidly. In the days that followed, Jerry made sure to stop by the coffee shop regularly. Each encounter strengthened the connection between them, and it wasn't long before they started hanging out after Melissa's shifts. "You inspire me, Melissa. His strength and determination are rare," Jerry confessed in one of his nightly conversations. "I'd like to support her in any way I can." The romance blossomed quickly, fueled by admiration and growing affection. Within months, Jerry proposed marriage, and Melissa, though hesitant due to the speed of things, felt that Jerry might be the partner she never thought she would find. They were married in a small ceremony in the city, with only a few friends and colleagues as witnesses. Melissa, although happy, kept a caution deep in her heart, remembering all the adversities she had faced alone. "I promise to be your partner in every way, Melissa. Together, we can face anything," Jerry declared, looking into his eyes during the vows. With marriage, Melissa allowed herself to believe that she could finally have found a shared life of love and support. After their wedding, Melissa and Jerry started a new life together in an apartment in the city. At first, married life seemed to be everything Melissa had dreamed of. However, reality slowly began to crumble as Jerry resumed his intense work routine, leaving Melissa alone for long periods. For the first few weeks, Jerry seemed caring and loving, but as time went on, he became more and more absent, immersed in his legal cases. Melissa, in turn, tried to adapt to her new life, looking for a job and trying to establish a routine. "Jerry, I feel like we're drifting apart," Melissa expressed one night as they dined in a rare moment together. "You're always so busy with work." "I know, my love, and I'm sorry," Jerry replied, with a tired look. "But you understand, don't you? This work is important for us, for our future." Melissa tried to understand, but loneliness and lack of support began to weigh on her. The situation became even more complicated with the arrival of Shirley, Jerry's mother, who came to live with them after suffering a fall and needing care. Shirley was a woman of strong personality and strict opinions, especially about the role of women in marriage. She was quick to show her disdain for Melissa, criticizing her for not being a suitable wife for her son. "You should focus more on taking care of the house and my son, rather than looking for a job," Shirley said, as Melissa cooked dinner, an expression of frustration hidden behind her courteous smile. The relationship between Melissa and Shirley deteriorated rapidly, exacerbated by the constant absence of Jerry, who seemed to ignore the growing conflicts at home. The situation reached a critical point during an event at Jerry's company, when he, under pressure from his mother, introduced Melissa as a maid to some coworkers. "Oh, that's Melissa, our dedicated helper at home," Jerry said, trying to appease his mother in front of her classmates. Melissa, humiliated and hurt, could hardly believe her ears. That night marked a turning point in his heart. She began to see marriage not as a haven of love and support, but as a repetition of the restrictions and devaluations she had hoped she had left behind. In the following months, tensions at home only increased. Melissa found herself increasingly isolated, dealing not only with a dismissive mother-in-law but also with a husband who rarely took her side. The young woman who had once run away from home in search of freedom, now found herself trapped in a marriage that robbed her of her voice and autonomy. As the months dragged on, Melissa's married life became increasingly untenable. While Jerry sank into her work, often leaving her alone with her mother, Shirley, who required constant attention due to her failing health, Melissa felt more and more like a prisoner in her own home. The dynamics at home became increasingly toxic. Shirley, taking advantage of her son's absence, treated Melissa not as a daughter-in-law, but as a maid, criticizing every little mistake and demanding incessant attention. "Melissa, why don't you learn how to cook properly?" Jerry never liked shoddy food, Shirley complained, even as Melissa spent hours trying to prepare meals to her mother-in-law's liking. The emotional and physical load was exhausting. Melissa started her day early, cleaning the house, taking care of Shirley's needs, and trying to find some time for herself, which was rare. In the evening, she waited for Jerry, who rarely arrived before midnight, usually so tired that he could barely talk. In one of those rare moments together, Melissa tried to express her frustration and loneliness. "Jerry, I'm feeling very lonely here. I need more support. It's not just about money or comfort, it's about being in this together," Melissa blurted out, her voice trembling from emotional exhaustion. Jerry, although initially seeming understanding, quickly returned to his usual pattern of minimizing his worries. "Melissa, you know how demanding my job is. My mother is sick, and you need to understand that this is temporary. Things will get better," he said, but his words rang hollow to Melissa, who increasingly doubted his sincerity. The situation deteriorated further when Jerry started arriving late not only because of work, but also social gatherings that didn't include Melissa. The excuses were always the same, and the suspicion of infidelity began to erode the already fragile marriage. On a particularly difficult night, after Jerry came home visibly drunk and accompanied by a woman's perfume, Melissa confronted him. "Jerry, where were you? Why do you smell like women's perfume?" Melissa asked, the anguish evident in her voice. "You're being paranoid, Melissa. It was just a dinner with colleagues. You should be more confident and less controlling," Jerry replied rudely, deflecting the subject and making Melissa feel even more isolated and unappreciated. The following weeks were a cycle of housework, caring for her mother-in-law and a growing sense of abandonment. Melissa felt that each day took her further away from the dream of a loving home and pushed her into a reality of emotional abuse and neglect. The tension and emotional distress accumulated over the months reached a peak for Melissa when she discovered something that would irrevocably change the course of her marriage. Jerry, on a rare occasion when he forgot his phone at home, received several messages that revealed an extramarital relationship. Melissa, after hesitating for long minutes, decided to check the content of the messages, discovering not only Jerry's infidelity, but also that the other woman was pregnant. Devastated, Melissa confronted Jerry that same night, armed with proof of his lies. "Jerry, who is she? And why is she saying she is expecting a child of her own?" Melissa demanded to know, her voice trembling but firm, showing the messages on her phone. Jerry, caught off guard and unable to deny the evidence before him, initially tried to calm the situation. "Melissa, I can explain. It's not quite what you're thinking. Don't treat me like an idiot, Jerry. Years of lies, now what? How could you do this to us?" Melissa interrupted, pain and anger overflowing. After a heated and painful argument, Jerry admitted his betrayal and argued that his marriage to Melissa had been in ruins for a long time. He suggested divorce as the only viable solution for both. "I think the best thing for us is to go our separate ways. I'll take responsibility for the child that's on the way, but our marriage is over, Melissa," Jerry said, with a coolness Melissa had never seen before. Determined and heartbroken, Melissa accepted the reality of divorce but refused to leave the home she had fought so hard to make a home. "I'm not going anywhere, Jerry. This house is mine too, and I'll stay here," Melissa declared, determined not to lose more than she had already lost. The following months were consumed by legal proceedings and battles over the division of assets. Melissa, despite the pain and betrayal, stood her ground, supported by friends and a lawyer who helped her navigate the complexities of family law. She fought not only for herself, but also for her stability and future. The divorce was finally finalized, leaving Melissa legally free but emotionally exhausted. She knew the road ahead would still be difficult, especially financially and emotionally, but she was determined to rebuild her life. After the tumultuous divorce, Melissa was faced with the need to rebuild her life from scratch. With limited resources and without a steady job, she began to look for job opportunities that could bring some financial stability. It was then that she discovered a vacancy to work as a housekeeper in a large residence in the city. Determined to move forward, Melissa applied for the position and was promptly accepted, thanks to her positive attitude and the determination evident during the interview. The job consisted of taking care of the cleaning and organization of the house, as well as preparing meals for the owner of the residence, a middle-aged man named Gregory, who lived alone after the death of his wife. "I'm really impressed with your attitude, Melissa. I believe you will bring a new energy to this house," Gregory said during the interview, offering him the job. Grateful for the opportunity, Melissa accepted the position and moved into a small room in the residence. Although the work was demanding, it offered him the chance to start over in a stable environment. Gregory showed himself to be an understanding and respectful employer, valuing Melissa's hard work and offering her the flexibility to continue her education, which she had vigorously resumed. In the months that followed, Melissa's life began to stabilize. She found a comfortable rhythm between work, studies and moments of rest, something she hadn't had for a long time. Gregory and Melissa developed a friendly relationship, based on respect and admiration for their life stories. Interestingly, communication between them began to flourish through notes they left for each other in the fridge. Melissa used these little messages to inform Gregory about the meals prepared or any shopping needs for the house. Gregory, in turn, left notes of thanks and short stories about his life. "Thank you for the delicious dinner, Melissa. It reminded me of a dish my wife used to make. You have a special gift," one of Gregory's notes read. This simple but meaningful exchange began to fill the house with a sense of warmth and care that Melissa hadn't felt since before her marriage. She enjoyed the quiet company of Gregory, who, though generally reserved, began to open up more, sharing more of his life and even asking for advice on personal decisions. Melissa felt that, for the first time in a long time, she was being valued not only for her domestic skills, but also as a person. This new phase brought a sense of accomplishment and purpose that she had longed for since her escape from her parents' home. As the months passed, the relationship between Melissa and Gregory evolved from a simple employment interaction to a deep and meaningful friendship. The notes in the fridge had become an expected routine, each revealing a little more about their personalities and life stories. Gregory began to share more about his loneliness after his wife's death, while Melissa found in him an attentive and understanding listener to her own struggles and aspirations. One spring afternoon, while Melissa was gardening, an activity that gave her great peace, Gregory joined her, something that became common on weekends. As they pulled weeds and planted new flowers, the conversation naturally flowed into more personal topics. "You know, Melissa, I never thought I'd find someone I could share so much with after my wife," Gregory confessed, as she helped plant a new set of tulips. "You have brought light to this house again." Melissa smiled, touched by Gregory's words. "I also didn't expect to find so much kindness and understanding. After everything I've been through, it's a relief to feel like I can be myself again." The conversation deepened, and Gregory, in a burst of courage, expressed his growing affection for Melissa. "I know our relationship started in a very formal way, but I feel like there's something more between us. Something that might be worth exploring," he said, hesitantly but sincerely. Melissa, surprised but not displeased, took a moment to respond. Her past still made her wary, but the kindness and respect Gregory had always shown gave her the confidence to consider his words. "Gregory, I feel something special too," she admitted. "But I need to make sure we're doing this for the right reasons. I don't want our friendship to be damaged by misunderstandings." Gregory agreed, and they both decided to take it one step at a time, allowing their relationship to evolve naturally, without pressure or rash expectations. Over the next few months, they began hanging out together not just as residents of the same household, but as potential partners, exploring new places together and sharing experiences that strengthened their bond. On a starry night, after a dinner they prepared together, Gregory took the initiative to formalize his feelings. "Melissa, being with you was the best thing that happened to me in a long time. I'd like to make it official, if you want to, he said, offering her a simple engagement ring as a symbol of his desire to be together. With a heart full of hope and understandable caution, Melissa accepted. "Yes, Gregory. I want that too. Let's build something together, with honesty and love." And so, in the midst of the daily life of a house that had become a home for both of them, Melissa and Gregory began a new chapter in their lives, no longer as employer and employee, but as committed companions to each other. After accepting Gregory's commitment ring, Melissa felt a renewal of hope and happiness in her life. Their relationship grew even stronger, marked by a deep respect and a growing love that transformed both their worlds. They decided to marry a few months later, in a simple but meaningful ceremony, surrounded by close friends and family who supported this new beginning. On the day of the wedding, the garden of Gregory's house, where they had talked and shared meaningful moments, was decorated with flowers and lights, creating a magical environment. "Melissa, you made me believe in love again," Gregory expressed during his vows, holding Melissa's hands with palpable affection. "I promise to be by your side, in good times and bad, and to support your dreams just as you support mine." Melissa, thrilled and radiant in a simple and elegant dress, replied, "Gregory, you showed me that respect and love can transform someone's life. I promise to be your loyal partner and friend, every day of our life together." After the wedding, Melissa and Gregory's life entered a phase of calm and contentment. They worked together to build a home that would be a haven of love and security, something Melissa had always dreamed of but rarely experienced. A few years later, the couple's happiness was completed with the arrival of Helen, their beloved daughter. Melissa, now not only a wife but also a mother, felt a fullness she had never imagined possible. Helen was a cheerful and curious child, bringing even more joy to the already happy home. "Look at her, Melissa. Helen is as curious as you are," Gregory often said, watching his daughter play in the same garden where he and Melissa had cultivated their love. Melissa devoted herself entirely to her daughter, teaching her about the importance of education, respect and self-love, values that she herself had to learn under much harsher circumstances. Gregory, for his part, was a caring and loving father, always ready to spend quality time with Helen and Melissa. The family often spent afternoons together in the garden, planting new flowers or simply enjoying each other's company. The house, once a place of work for Melissa, had truly become a home, full of laughter, conversation, and plans for the future. "I never imagined my life could be like this," Melissa mused on one of those afternoons, watching Gregory and Helen playfully. "Despite everything I've been through, I now have a family that loves and values me. I'm so grateful for that." Melissa's life was now filled with love. She found a balance between her family life and her work, something that enriched every aspect of her existence. The love she received from Gregory and Helen was a remedy for the scars left by past hardships. Melissa's story, initially marked by struggles and pain, turned into a narrative of redemption and joy. She taught everyone that regardless of the difficulties faced, it is possible to emerge with hope and build a life of love and meaning. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, give it a like, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. See you in the next story.